Today I'm going to be answering the number one question that I get asked by you guys, the viewers, which is, where do I get all of my information from? This is a great question, and in order to answer it properly, I'm going to have to tell you a little bit about my backstory and history in order so that it makes sense in a larger scope. I grew up dirt poor. My dad is Muslim and my mom is Catholic. And me and my siblings grew up in an environment where we were exposed to going to the mosque and also going to Catholic church. And these two extreme religions, even though they are both still a part of the Abrahamic branch of religion, seemingly had a background of harmony within our worldview or environment because we grew up going to both, and that just became natural to us. Well, that helps a person at a very young age, as a child, already expand their worldview and their perception to where they're not locked into any one belief system, although we did get to choose. So I came into this incarnation already with the ability to hold multiple perspectives and a larger worldview. And what that does is expand your consciousness, and it widens your bandwidth. Bandwidth meaning your ability to receive and process information. So although by no means is this a rare experience to have, it does help a being become more flexible and become more pliant in their ability to accommodate worldviews and different perceptions, which is very much needed in order to hold higher level concepts and gnosis. So by the time I got to college, I had already learned the ins and outs of Catholicism and Christianity, as well as Islam. And after I shed that programming from those religions, I was being introduced into the more esoteric version of these teachings. And the one that I was drawn most to in the beginning was Valentinian Gnosticism. So that's where my background comes from when we're talking about Gnosticism. It's the Valentinian branch. And then Hermeticism, which has been an ongoing love affair between me and Hermeticism. Hermetic teachings and Hermetic principles were something that I had discovered on my own before I was even introduced to Hermeticism. These were things that I had found through my own investigation, my own personal philosophy, that were self-evident and true. So when I was introduced to Hermeticism, I was just glad that other people had already figured that out and that there was some sort of objective ontology that this universe was operating under. Although alchemy is the core essence of all mystery traditions, I have found Hermeticism to be the most comprehensive esoteric science when it comes to the subject of alchemy, which is the art of ascension. So although my beliefs continue to evolve beyond the structure of each spiritual system that I have studied, I still find Hermeticism to be a foundational and essential cornerstone, and therefore the closest cosmology to which I still share an affinity with. After I had thoroughly immersed myself into mysticism to the point that I had attained gnosis, which is the whole point of mystery schools and the whole point of mysticism. It is so that you become completely unprogrammed as the mechanical human potential, and you enter into your own stellar being, your own cosmic being. That's the whole point. It's not to replicate you. It's not to regurgitate information. It is to, almost like the Michelangelo sculpture that was carved from one full piece of marble. It's never meant to create a replication of a teaching. It is for you to develop your own spiritual sovereignty so that you are able to be your own sovereign and to navigate with your own discernment and gnosis. And by doing so, what the mystery schools and what these teachings act as in their highest form is taking away, sculpting away all of the marble that is not David. That is what a mystery school does. It creates the environment for you to become your highest potential. It does not mold you. It does not replicate you. It does not make you a carbon copy. It refines you. It takes away all that is not of you. So the process in and of itself is one where the spiritual sovereignty within the individual is always required the whole time. Discernment is required the whole time, because what this is doing is practicing. This is activating and initiating the latent seeds of divinity. So after this phase of my life, naturally, I became drawn to fringe topics and fringe material, such as channeled information. And this is where I was having the most remembrance activated at this time, the most triggers and the most remembering as to why I incarnated here in the first place. Everything finally made sense within the fringe context. And so in this phase of my life, as I'm having deep awakenings happen at a soul level, I also started getting interacted with by both positive and negative beings. And once you get interacted with positive beings, it's just a natural byproduct that you will also, with whatever is unintegrated or unhealed within your being, attract negative beings, because it's like the signal's out. If you're learning, I was learning a lot from Arcturians. They were teaching me a lot of stuff. If you watch my video, how to jump timelines, that information is like almost all from Arcturians I learned personally from my own direct experience, them showing me how reality works. You still learn things even from negative experiences and negative contact. They're just not things you would prefer to learn, things like vigilance in protecting oneself against these forces, but also about the deeper nature into reality as to why these forces exist in the first place, what the motive is, what the intent is, what's the bigger picture, what larger context all of this is applying to. You have a lot of incentive, you have a lot of motive at that point to learn how to transmute these experiences so that you're not interacted with in that way. And that was, me going through the gauntlet, if you will. And those experiences are what catalyzed me into learning about the darkest parts of reality, in order so that I had the ability to not only transmute this for myself, but also know about these elements, because once again, all of these experiences I was having was adding very important information by expanding my bandwidth. If there's one thing that I really want to drive home, it's that the expansion of our bandwidth is the most important and crucial aspect to being able to receive information. Because if you have a limited bandwidth, you're only coming from one belief system or one context and paradigm. And so whatever information you're receiving from yourself, from your higher aspects, from your team, whatever you want to call them, are going to be filtered through that paradigm. And then when you add to that a being who's not doing any awareness, self-awareness or shadow work, whatever type of emotional processing that's going on, then you have an even more distorted ability to receive information. During this same time, I was also heavily drawn to the topic of soul retrieval, since soul retrieval is how a person heals themselves, integrates their being, and evolves. So I connected with a shaman who not only was I receiving energy work from and soul retrieval work from, but also who was mentoring me in shamanic healing, as well as the quantum field and quantum healing. So both of these two tools from these seemingly different worlds, once again, were in complete harmony in the backdrop of my life experience. And me and my shaman are still good friends to this day. So all of my life experiences were continuously broadening my bandwidth, meaning my ability to align with truth objectively as one can access in their capacity. And with this, it only continued to expand more and more, just in different ways as I incurred more life experience. So there was at one point where I was heavily into false light teachings. Well, one person can say that that is wrong or, a negative experience to have, and they would be right. But also, you have to be able to know about something intimately. You have to be able to directly experience something in order to gain discernment. Discernment is not something that we can just learn by reading an article or even learn by hearing about it, even though things can aid us. There's definitely assistance and tools that can help us build discernment. We don't always need to have some sort of direct experience. We can also, hear from other people who have had certain experiences. We can also learn from people who are of an exalted, status and expertise on a topic. But the direct experience is how you build discernment. That's the end of the story. A being will simply not incur discernment if they do not go through an experience. And so as I was heavily immersed in Fringe material, naturally, I gravitated all the way over to complete false light teachings. And I learned about both ends of that spectrum, both ends of that polarity. So all of this learning and experiencing and knowing was a really good gig up until 2018, when I had incurred a nervous system injury that I'm still coming to terms with. The positive aspects of this nervous system injury that I had occurred is an ongoing upgrade to my entire etheric template and my body-mind-spirit complex. I had attracted the way that this upgrade manifested through a physical body cleanse, no less, because I was sitting on information and I would not share it, and because I was playing small. So the way that this upgrade showed up was in a more severe tone, because that is what propelled me or inspired me into the direction that my original intent for this lifetime had planned. The positive aspects to this ongoing upgrade is that I'm able to synthesize information at a very optimal rate. I'm able to draw from past teachings, from past points in my life, and act as a bridge for concepts and for information that now I'm just receiving from my oversoul. So to answer your question, where do I get my information from? I get my information from my oversoul. Although I am Pleiadian and Arcturian and Andromedan and so forth, I receive information from my oversoul, and my oversoul is a group consciousness. So all of that's already entailed in my oversoul. So from there, I use my own vocabulary, my own life experience, my own analogies, my own unique understanding and direct experience from my personal life path and all of the different teachings and knowledge that I have incurred from these different schools of thoughts and belief systems. And all of this I synthesize together to create the message that I share with people and to convey the teachings that I do. That's why when I'm talking about a topic, I don't teach you about Gnosticism, or I don't teach you about the fourth way. You would have to go to a practicing Gnostic or a practicing mystic in the mystery tradition of the fourth way in order to really delve into and to learn those systems and traditions. I'm the synthesizer of information I'm receiving from my oversoul, and I'm pulling from my own bank of knowledge in order to help act as a bridge for people who are already immersed within whatever aspect of spirituality that a being is immersed in. And so my audience is wide and varied, and that's because my gnosis and my bandwidth can speak to many different branches of spirituality while still having it come to a coherent and unified conclusion, including the ones on the cusp more towards the scientific end of the realm, and you guys are still very much loved and welcomed here. Some people think that I am an ambassador for certain federations. I'm not. I low-key think that all of that paradigm is sus. I'll hold resonance with different channeled information or different teachings, absolutely, and I will synthesize information like using a teaching to build a bridge in order to merge that gap. So I don't find teachings just completely dangerous or sinister because I don't share complete resonance with them. I can find them very useful actually to help merge that gap. So to sum all of this up, where do I get my information from? I get my information from my oversoul through an embodiment or an upgrade that I'm receiving that is helping me able to transmit this information to a large audience. I am also using my background in mysticism and also in channeled information, as well as quantum physics, to create a synthesis where there is true synthesis and harmony between these concepts, not anything forced, but to create a synthesis so as to be able to understand these concepts, not just from one dogmatic or one paradigm only, but to help assist in expanding our consciousness and intimacy with these concepts through the well-roundedness of showing how sometimes, very often, one thing or one truth is being expressed or communicated. It just might not be in a language that we understand. I hope this has demystified my gnosis. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for higher dimensional guidance through spiritual awakenings. See you next time.